What's up everybody, this is Master and Gamer. Overwatch 2 Season 20 launched, and with it we got, of course, a brand new Mythic skin. One which has, needless to say, not gone over terribly well with the Overwatch community.
What the f is this piece of shit?
And unfortunately, this is by no means anything new. Mythic skins have basically been on the decline for arguably the majority of Overwatch 2's life at this point. And while there's no accounting for taste, and everyone's gonna have their personal preference even among various trash tier cosmetics, I personally consider Divine Desperado Cassidy to be the worst Mythic skin Blizzard has added yet. Yes, even worse than Orisa and Hanzo's skins, who for years at this point have been regarded as the worst of the worst. So in today's video, I want to talk about why I despise this new Mythic skin so much, as well as go over the overall state of Mythics at this point, because while Blizzard has shown that they are still capable of doing cool and interesting things with Mythics as a category of cosmetic, more often than not it seems they choose not to do so because, well, I think we all know the reason.
Money!
So let's go ahead and take a look here at Divine Desperado Cassidy, and at first glance, it may seem like we have a number of customization options to work with here, which is always good. More customization is better, right? Well, you notice that immediately some of these customization options are literally just visual effects, something which isn't even actually new to the Cassidy Mythic skin. Literally, we saw this with Lifeweaver and Junkrat skins last season, and all this really is at this point is fake customization. I mean, arguably, sure, there are scenarios where you might just prefer to not have an ability effect because you think the skin looks better or worse without it. I think the Cyberfuel Junkrat skin is actually the best example of this because the visual skin effects change so much about the skin itself that arguably that is a legitimate customization option. But for other skins like Lifeweaver's and the Cassidy skin, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that the little halo floating behind his head is not a particularly major feature that anyone would care too much one way or the other about turning on or off. In fact, in a lot of ways, you could probably even argue that this is a pay-to-lose skin if you have the visual effect turned on, because you're basically just spawning a massive target aimed directly at your head. But even then, going through the other customization options, it really comes down to only the hairstyle, or hat edition if you're going with level 1, when it comes to the actual model customization of this skin, something which is pretty much par for the course. Most modern Mythics only have the one aspect that can be changed. For Junkrats, it was the Riptire, and for Lifeweaver, it was his back pedals. So again, overall, very minimal customization here, but the reason Divine Desperado feels like such a step down for me, even beneath the Lifeweaver and Junkrat skins, really comes down to the ability effects. All three of these skins have unique effects for them. Lifeweaver has all the fancy stuff with his pedal and the little flowers that grow when he walks. Junkrat has a ton of cool cyber hacker type effects that go off anytime there's an explosion, not to mention all the really cool and unique sound effects that come with his weapons in this. But for Cassidy, well, you do get a unique revolver sound, which is fine. And then you get the little holy blast icon when he uses his flashbang. And other than that, the only effect that I find actually worthwhile of making this a mythic per se is when he uses his ultimate. The Wild West spirit world he enters with the holy trinity of tumbleweeds is admittedly pretty cool. But even still, that's it. That is the extent of what this skin actually does with its ability effects. A pretty weak showcase, if you ask me. Now let's go back to something I mentioned earlier. There's no accounting for individual taste, and I can understand that. Already within just the first few days of Season 20, I've seen a number of Cassidy players running the new Mythic skin, and I imagine there are quite a few people who do enjoy the skin for one reason or another, and fair enough, more power to them. In terms of any tangible reasons for people to like this skin, the big one I've seen come up time and time again, and in fact, I think the only reason I've seen anyone vocalize in terms of why they like it is the fact that he's shirtless. Okay, you know what? I'm not into that, and I'm not going to critique it, because fair enough. But it's not like this is his only shirtless skin. I mean, Lifeguard Cassidy has existed for years, and even still, while I see the appeal of this aspect of Cassidy, don't you think you deserve better? Imagine if this skin had the shirtless option, of course, because why wouldn't it? But then, what if there was more customization? What if there were more ways to tweak the model, more interesting effects? What I'm trying to point out here is that even though there are clearly people who like this skin for a valid reason, the skin itself could have and should have been so much better. What even is the theme of Divine Desperado Cassidy? Something vaguely holy inspired? The fact that one of his color and outfit combinations looks vaguely like a Christian interpretation of God is probably my favorite aspect of the skin just because of how ridiculous it is. And also I think is perhaps the angle Blizzard was trying to kind of go with this, but just didn't want to fully commit too heavily to the idea of making a skin based off of real-world Christian theological themes and imagery, which is a little ironic when you think about how often they do that for Eastern religions, but that's probably a whole separate conversation to have. And either way boils down to the fact that this skin to me just feels like Blizzard maybe had a vague idea of what they wanted to do for Cassidy Mythic skin, but just did not commit to it. They didn't go hard enough with the holy angle in order to make it feel truly cool, unique, and interesting, and they didn't give us enough customization for the skin to feel interesting in its own right, independent of that theme. This is the exact reason why I think Cassidy's Mythic is even worse than Orisa's and Hanzo's, despite both of those Mythic skins having even fewer customization options. While there may be less customization in them, at least the theming and overall look of the skin itself feels more interesting and coherent. Hanzo's is a spooky, hellish Japanese ghost man, and Orisa's is a bizarre alien robo-bug type thing. Alright, maybe that's not the most coherent thing, but at least in concept, I find this way more interesting than the vague holy something or another that they gave for Cassidy. And the real tragic part about this though is that while the Cassidy Mythic skin is certainly a letdown for a lot of people, this very season Blizzard has proven that they're still capable of doing interesting things with Mythics. Case in point, the Capsule Cannon Orisa Mythic weapon. This, to me, is the best Mythic weapon Blizzard has ever made. Now again, no accounting for taste. I've seen a lot of people say they hate the design of this weapon, and fair enough. It's a very cutesy, very pastel pink girly sort of look, and I can easily understand why that does not appeal to a lot of people. Fair enough. But the reason I think this is the best Mythic weapon we've seen to date is because of the uniqueness and creativity of it as a weapon. This isn't just some generic demonic, hellish, spiritual thing like the majority of Mythic weapons seem to be. Those are cool and awesome in their own right, but they aren't very novel or interesting, especially since they make up like 90% of all the Mythic weapons that exist in Overwatch. The Capsule Cannon weapon has a unique theme. Clearly there is a creative element here, especially when it comes to the flourish and the way you get these little squeaky toys popping out as that flourish, with there even being an ultra rare gold one that can periodically appear as well. The amount of creativity that went into this single weapon easily exceeds any other Mythic weapons we've seen thus far. And again, a lot of people aren't gonna like this skin because it just doesn't fit their tastes, but it's the fact that Blizzard is willing to do something goofy and creative and original like this for a Mythic weapon that shows me Blizzard still has the potential to do fun Mythic cosmetics that aren't just vague, low-effort spirit something or another's. And that includes you, Mythic Kiriko weapon. You may have sold me on the fidget kunai flourish, but don't think I don't despise how low-effort and uninspired you are overall. And if you need any further evidence of which Mythic this season was worth clamoring about, then look no further than Blizzard's own social media. They put out a special spotlight showcasing the new Orisa Mythic weapon and all its neat little features, whereas the Cassidy skin got nothing, making it the first Mythic skin in Overwatch 2 history to not get its own dedicated social media post advertising the new skin. They just briefly showcased it in the trailer and mentioned it in the corresponding season blog post, and otherwise didn't utter a peep about it. It's almost as if Blizzard already knew just how poorly the skin was going to be received. And this brings us in this video now to the unfortunate core of the issue, which is that Blizzard clearly is trying to adapt mythics, the biggest, shiniest, specialist cosmetics of the entire game, into filler content. Never ever again will we see the effort and amount of customization that went into the early mythic skins, like Genji's, Kiriko's, Junker Queen's, Sigma's, when instead they can just put in a half-assed effort and inflate the amount of prisms people need to get in order to get all of these skins by releasing multiple mythics per season. First, they added the mythic weapons, making it so that you needed twice as many prisms to get all the mythics with every season that releases. And now, with 2 mythic skins releasing, one of them being held off for the mid-season, we're seeing that get tripled. And speaking of that 3rd mythic of the season, the images thus far of Doomfist's upcoming Magma Titan skin, at least as depicted here in his spray and name card, aren't making me terribly optimistic about this skin looking any better or being any more thematically interesting than what we've just seen for Cassidy. I'll hold off full judgment until we actually get a look of its in-game 3D model, but based on these little images here, I'm not enticed. So on that note, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. How do you feel about Divine Desperado Cassidy? Is it a skin you enjoy? Is it one that you've already picked up and have been actively using in your matches? Or is it one that you just aren't interested in for one reason or another? And in general, how do you feel about the future of mythic skins when it comes to Overwatch? As always, be sure to subscribe, hit up that bell icon, follow me on X, and join my Discord server to never miss out on any future Overwatch 2 news streams and other content. And otherwise, this is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.